Hello. I don't know what to say here, so I'm just gonna dive right into the questions. Oh, well, thank you for having me. How have you grown as a writer? I've grown as a writer because I've improved greatly on my grammar, my organization, my overall structure of my essays. They used to be really just kind of like, oh, idea, 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 idea. But now they're just like, idea, idea that relates to that idea, idea that relates to that idea. And it's very clear now. And as a reader, I've begun to read more mature books, I guess, as opposed to like stupid stuff. And I'm into more like long novels that have like really long plot lines and stuff, and like giant series books instead of just like one or two books and stuff. I've also been getting really good at like catching symbolism and metaphors. Now, what do you think the nature is of literacy in the 21st century, and how are you prepared? I think the nature of literacy in the 21st century is like um, basically all internet based, or like Kindles, iPad, stuff like that. Ebooks are big. I don't really have a Kindle or a Nook or anything like that because I prefer having something solid in my hands, but for college, actually, it's cheaper to buy e-book textbooks, so I'm actually getting a Kindle for that. So I'm ready for the 21st century way to read. What books left a particular impression upon you this year, and why? A book that we read this year in class that left a particular impression on me was The Great Gatsby. It was a top book of mine. Um, Probably my favorite that we read all year. I just really liked the whole like way everybody was connected, even though they didn't know it, and how Gatsby's own desires were the things that destroyed him in the end, and like the whole unattainable American dream theme. I really like that because like the way they did it was a lot more relatable than the way a lot of other books do it. What was your favorite book in the beginning of the year versus at the end of the year? My favorite book at the beginning of the year that I read on my own was the Sherlock Holmes series, I think. Um, and now I might have to say it's The Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones. It's a really close one. It's just I'm pretty into Game of Thrones right now, so. How has your taste in books changed? My taste in books has changed. I'm more into like I said in the beginning. Um, the second question you asked me actually. I am into like longer plot lines and longer novels and more complex things. And I'm into like really long character development things. I'm into books with character development. I used to like just be like, oh yeah, yeah. But now I'm really into character development and stuff like that. What is your favorite thing to write about? My favorite my favorite thing to write about is like opinion stuff or like educational kind of thing. Like I like writing about what I know. So if it's a book I like writing about that. If it's like movies I like writing about that. Stuff like that. What type of writing is the hardest? The writing for me that's the hardest is like about poetry essays, because I don't get poetry all that much. It's not my favorite. I mean it's okay. I can get like the metaphors and whatever the hell, but I mean heck. But it's just hard for me to keep the essays coherent, and I get bored, so I just kind of stick stuff in there and leave, which is stupid of me. Looking back upon your writing, what, from the beginning of the year, what changes do you see? Well, from the beginning of the year, I was an awful writer. I didn't like check my grammar. I never proofread. I never like added like descriptive writing, figurative language, all that stuff. And towards the end, I actually started caring about what I was writing. I didn't just like write to write. I wrote to actually like please myself, and I started proofreading and checking my grammar and spelling and all that kind of stuff. And if you could go back to the beginning of the year, would you do anything differently? If I could go back, I'd probably tell myself to proofread in the beginning of the year, because I kind of was a stupid choice of mine to not, and to like not. I would tell myself not to follow what Mrs. Benjamin told us last year. I would do what Catch was telling us, because he told us what he wants to see, not what Mrs. Benjamin wanted to see. Yes, that makes sense. Thank you very much. I have sure learned a lot about 21st century you. Thank you very much for interviewing me.